Today's verse is a interesting one. Just give me 1 second to be sure. Okay, perfect. Let's get on to the verse. Would somebody like to read the verse, please?
Yes, bro. I will try.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Tannama rupa charyari sukritanu smito kramena rasana manasi niyojaya tishtan rajetan anuragi janugami kalam nayam akilam iti upadesha sharam.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I can try, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, please.
Tannama rupa chaitati sukrita nanu smrityo kamred gramena rasana mansi niyojaya tista vraje tad anuragi jananugami kalam ned akilam iti updesa saram.
Thank you. Anyone else interested in reading? No? Okay. Tannam Rupa Charitadis Kirtananus Mrityave Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyojya Tishthan Vraje Tadanuragi Jananugami Kalam Nayadakhilam Iti Upadesha Saram. The essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. In this way, one should reside in Vraj, Golok Vrindavan Dham, and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees, who are deeply attached to his devotional service. So, this verse it's all about mind, So, what Rupa Goswami is giving us here, that you engage your mind 24/7 in the process of remembering Krishna. Nama Rupa Charitali. So his name, Nam, Rup, his transcendental form, his Charitadi, his qualities, his pastimes. So Prabhupada, in the purport, the way Prabhupada is explaining to us, he asks us, he starts talking about the mind right away. Because mind is our biggest enemy, it can be our biggest friend. It comes in the 6th chapter. Okay? What is that? Atmeva hi atmano bandhur, atmeva ripuratmana. Krishna tells us that very clearly in the beginning of the 6th chapter, that depending on how we interact with the mind, it can be our best friend or our worst enemy. So Prabhupada starts by telling us that please make this mind your friend. And Prabhupada explains that how impressions that we have, right? In Sanskrit it's called samskar. Samskar is basically just impressions that we have accumulated again and again, right? And we do it once, one layer is formed, we do it again, another layer comes in, third layer, fourth layer, fifth layer, and then it becomes a very thick impression. And this thick impression can be very critical for us at the moment of our death, when we leave this body. Right? Failing to remember the right cause, to be in the right mindset can make a huge difference for us. When I say huge, it could be a species difference practically. I can fall down from a human body to a dog's body to an ant's body, wherever. If I don't properly fine-tune the impressions that I am imbibing 24/7, right? I can easily fall back into the evolution cycle just because of that one thought. Prabhupada in the purport He quotes the verse from eighth chapter. This is the fifth verse. Yam yam vapi smarana bhava tyajanti ante kalevra tam tam evati konteya salatad bhava bhavita. Yam yam vapi smarana bhava. Whatever your mind is fixed in at the moment, yam yam vapi smarana bhava tyajanti ante kalevra. Tyajanti means you leave ante kalevra at the last moment. That you will get in your next life. So just imagine how crucial is that last moment. Prabhupada further tells us that the last moment is very painful. It's like as if thousands of scorpions are biting us. So now imagine what a critical position we are in. I have not trained my mind throughout my entire life. I've just, frivoled away, enjoyed my life and thinking, oh, I'll do it. So I've been trying to, as they say, right, have my feet in both boats. And I thought, oh yeah, I'll enjoy this world and I'll also do my chanting, I'll do my 16 rounds, I have a guru, I read Prabhupada's books and all that. But then that won't work because I had to have that focus. Otherwise my mind will be distracted. Vyamishrena vakyena buddhi mohe sevare. Yeah, but then we have to have that one pointed attention to what our mind should be at the last moment. So this verse gives us how we practice that process. So of mind, why to train it and how to train it. So these are, first of all, these are the four things. So mind, meaning what this, because the verse says tishthan vraje, stay in vraja, which is Prabhupada translating as Golok Vrindavan Dham. And Prabhupada in the purport tells us that vraja means the entire. It includes Vrindavan, Mathura. It's more of a branch. It includes that part. So Tishthan Vraja. So stay in Vraja. But then what does stay in Vraja mean? Prabhupada explained that to us. Then he goes back to explaining us that how can we make the mind our friend. He will give different stages of hearing. We will talk about that. And last, he will talk about different types of devotional service. There are 3 types which I will describe. And then the 5 different rasas which we can engage our mind in serving Krishna. So was first. So let's, before we even come to this Vraja concept, I was listening to a interview by Venus Williams, this famous champion, tennis champion, and she was saying that to be a champion in any field, we have to put in 10,000 hours worth of work. And I would be surprised, she must have actually put 10,000 hours of work to be where she is as one of the best tennis players. I don't know if you all seen that. There's a movie that came out recently, King Richard, and in that her life story is shown that how she was very young when they started. She and Serena, both of them, Venus and Serena Williams, and their father was very focused in training them, and so they had put in 10,000 hours worth of practice to be a champion in their field, right? So similarly, taking what happens in material world, we can also use that for spiritual perspective. So to become a master in this particular field, to be so that at the last moment we don't fall off on the wrong path. So we have to master this field. And how do you master that? First and foremost, and Prabhupada explains that at many places, in many purports, and you find a champion in your field, right? A champion in the field that you want to become good at, right? That's the basic first thing that you're looking for, right? So you become a master under a master. That's the way you put it. And Krishna talks about this in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse number 34. He says that Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshente te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. So that's 434. So he says Tadvidhi pranipatena. You do service, pariprashnena. You ask question, sevaya, and you serve. So when we do these 3 important aspects with the master, then the master becomes happy and he imparts knowledge. He opens up his or her heart to us, and then we can also imbibe that, and we can also be successful in the field. That's the most important thing, right? Don't try to figure out things on Google. That's a common thing nowadays, right? Everybody just say, "Oh, let me Google it up," and now, you Google up who's a spiritual master, and you'll find a billion things. People will be there to fool you. Just yesterday, my wife was telling me that how she met a lady she came back from India yesterday. So she met a lady in the airplane. and she was reading a book about this, intelligent IITian from India, very smart, that's some acharya, some sort. But all he was writing was just mumbo jumbo. Even though he has a very big fan following, he's well reputed, people look up to him, he's supposedly coming from a premier institute in India, so you expect him to be intelligent. But then what is he writing? Oh, that you are God, everyone is God, God is here, and all that nonsensical thoughts. So don't try go finding it out on Google. Look for an actual sannyasi, look for an actual spiritual master. Right? That is what we are being told here. Tad anuragi jananugami. Follow the ones who are firmly attached to Krishna. Anuragi. So anuragi means to follow. Right? So that's the first thing we do to master any condition, any field. Right? So you master under a master. That's the way to remember it. Second is we create a very conducive culture for ourselves around us, and that's what means Abhīṣṭa-dohaṁ. So when Rupa Goswami was here on this planet Earth, Vrindavan was a very good place. It was a perfect place to live. But now if you go to Vrindavan, there is an equal amount of devotion and then there is an equal amount of distraction. If you always go, when you go to NOI Bazaar, if you have been to Vrindavan, NOI Bazaar, you go to Ras Bihari Lal, there is a bookshop there, Ras Bihari Lal. You will find books from every single acharya, every single, random people writing books. He will have everything. So if you want to get distracted, you enter his shop and he will show you all sorts of books. Very easy to get distracted. So there are equal amount of distractions also. Right? Well, I'm not saying you should not read other acharyas' books. We should. But then Prabhupada told us you should assimilate what I have given you first, and then you start looking around. Prabhupada was never against reading his other acharyas. Actually, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, first verse, he writes that you should read the commentaries by other acharyas. So I didn't mean to. I just want to clarify that. I didn't mean to say that you shouldn't read others. But then it could be a major source of distraction for us if we are not at that position to understand what those other acharyas, other speakers are talking about. So that's the other thing is we create a conducive environment for ourselves, a conducive culture around us. So Tishthan Vraje indicates create Vrindavan around ourselves, at our house, at our office, friend circle, and most importantly, in our heart. If my heart is not Vrindavan and if it's Las Vegas, then even if I have my house as Vrindavan, I'm going to make my house also all contaminated by that. The Las Vegas mentality is in my heart. No offense against Las Vegas. Surely there are good people in Las Vegas also. But then, yes, most importantly, we have to create Vrindavan in our heart. Vrindavan can manifest anywhere, depending on our consciousness. So that's the important part. So that's the second part. So first part, master under a master. Second part, create conducive culture around you. Third part, very important one, give yourself incremental pushes. So what I mean by that is determination in bhakti is our responsibility. We read that in the preface of this book. Prabhupada clearly said that success in the process of bhakti is dependent upon the practitioner. So we have to figure out ways to motivate ourselves. We have to figure out ways to keep that determination, the fire burning. Otherwise, we will, when my plan goes weak, Maya's plan again start looking attractive to me. So I have to keep that plan in my mind, keep myself motivated and, beyond distraction, that this is what I want to do. My mind is just going wild, that's fine, but I'm going to keep doing it. Some way or the other, I will do it. So there will be days when we'll not be able to, our mind is just so distracted, we'll not be able to jump, but I still complete my 16 rounds that day, trying my best. So give yourself incremental pushes. Don't try to climb the ladder of bhakti running on it. You will fall down. But then don't be so slow either that you don't rise. So it's to be a balance. It has to be a balance for us. So we have to learn. Okay, now I am stable on this particular rung of the ladder. I'm ready to take the next level. So that's very important also. Bhakti Vinod Thakur explains that in his books, that you have to keep motivating and pushing yourself. So those are the three important aspects that we have to understand and we get from this verse. We should to be a master in this field. as Rupa Goswami wants us to be, right? So what, and then furthermore, Kalam Nayad Akhilam. Kalam Nayad Akhilam means pass all your time like this. Okay. So when I say pass all your time like this, the word that immediately comes to my mind is time pass, right? That's very commonly what is a commonly word used. What am I doing? Oh, I'm just killing time, just I'm bored, passing my time. So people are so bored. I am so bored. People like me, people are so bored of doing daily chores that we are chewing the chewed. You all must have seen in India when they take out the sugarcane juice, they pass it once, and you say, okay, that's very good. Then he folds it and again passes through it, and then again he folds it and then again passes it through the machine. They're just trying to extract the last drop out of it, right? So that's called chewing the chewed. Prahlad Maharaj says this in Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, that was it? Punha punas charvita charvanana. That materialistic people, they're exactly what they're doing, they're chewing the chewed, right? So first of all, I am engaged in four things, right? And we all know that, right? Ahar, nidra, bhaya, maithunam. So ahar is eating, nidra is sleeping, bhaya is fearful. I'm fearful, my property, my cars, my job, and I'm fearful. I want to maintain all that. I want to protect that. Maithunam, having sex, that's on the mind of all people. So four things are always I'm doing that, right? So doing it this way or that way, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. We are told that the particular verse Prabhupada quotes that very, very often, commonly, Ahar Nidra Bhaya Maithunam Cha. That in the last part of that verse is Dharmena Hina Pashubhi Samhana. That if we don't know what the goal of our life is, what our purpose is here, if we are not that inquisitive, then Dharmena Hina Pashubhi Samana. I'm like an animal. I'm no different than an animal. Why? Because animal also does these four things. Ahar, Nidra, Bhaya, Maithunam. So I'm no different than an animal, right? Actually, human beings become worse than animals. First of all, I engage in these four aspects. Ahar, Nidra, Bhaya, Maithunam. Then when I get bored, I want to see others do it, right? That's what all the television shows are about. 24/7. They're just teaching us to all that. Oh, you sometimes you see that there are so many eating shows. Then there are just so many about how people are fighting each other, trying to protect their businesses. There's this all that sort of. So there's just the same thing, but presented in a different way. So first of all, I'm killing my time by doing these four things. But then when I am bored of that, I want to see how others are doing it, and I want to enjoy that also, right? And the television system is it's actually pitiful. People who watch TV, they get this illusory thought that even, I'm not happy, someone else might be happy, so let me see that person. So they are being cheated because of that, right? But then in truth, nobody is happy. We don't know the complete picture of anybody. If we just look at the Facebook life of a person, we'll see that they're very happy. But if you go back and look at their complete lives, nobody is happy. Right? So such people are being cheated because they want to be cheated. Vanchita, Vanchaka, Sampradaya. So that's a sampradaya of cheaters and cheated. Right? That's the tragic comedy of this life for everybody. So we should not time pass. We should pass time as Rupa Goswami is telling us. Right? That Kalam Nayad Akhilam iti Upadesha Saram. And Prabhupada points out in the purport that we just read that 24 hours a day. So when you go to meet a don in the field, right, a master in the field, you just go and ask him, okay, what is that one thing? What is that one essential advice you would want to give me that will make me a master in the field? And here Rupa Goswami is giving it us for free, without even asking. He's a don himself in his field. He's a pure Vaishnava. He's right coming from Golok. So he's giving us right there. He's saying, Kalam Nayad Akhilam iti Upadesha Saram. That is the essence of all the teachings. That just try to engage our minds 24/7 in Krishna's service, in Krishna's thoughts. Right? So that's the essence here. At least in the beginning, that what is being talked about here. Right? And there are many practical ways also. Acharyas give us that, and we see it from lives of senior devotees and acharyas, that how they have tune their life so that they can practice bhakti to the best of their capacity. For example, if you see all the Goswamis, they would measure everything, right? Nana Shastra Vichari Neke Nipuno, Sadharma Sastapako. I forgot that verse, but there's the verse in Goswami, the Sat Goswami Ashtakam. There is a verse where it says that they are measuring everything they do. So that's a very important thing. We have to measure everything. Many of you have that good habit of having this. What's that? The habit. There's an app of habit, and you can just tick mark. Okay, this is what I wanted to do today for my bhakti part, and I have done it today, and I put a tick mark there. Some people try to go with a list. They paste that list on their refrigerator. Okay, these are the 10 things I'm going to do. So, and I'm going to do it. Let's say I'm going to read for 15 minutes. I'm going to hear kirtan for 30 minutes, chanting 16 rounds, 2 hours. So they have it figured out. So when we measured everything very carefully, what practice we do, then it tells our mind that I'm serious about it. That's the aspect here. So, and then eating a balanced diet, even Krishna says that yukta hara viharasya, yukta chetasya, yukta swapnasya bodhasya. So that you eat a balanced diet, have a balanced sleeping habit, right? Wake up in time for a powerful spiritual experience, right? So we always want to plan ahead for our bhakti next morning. We want to do that, right? Don't also never greet the dawn without a map, as Augmentino says that. So we should have a plan next day. I should know where my chanting beats are. Okay, where am I going to sit? Is the area clean? It's not contaminated or all that sort of thing. So wake up in time, have a powerful spiritual experience, and then many people like to memorize scriptures. That's a very good thing to control. At least that really helps me a lot, because my mind is very distracted. And when I memorize something, some verses, my mind feels proud. Oh, I've done this, and I'm okay with that. Let my mind feel pride of it. Okay, you feel proud. That's okay. I'm memorizing verses. It's helping me some. Prabhupada, jokingly told his disciples once that you should memorize verses in case one of you falls down into the animal life. Then at one appropriate moment, you might remember these verses, you might recite them, and then again come back to human life, just like Gajendra. So Prabhupada would joke to his disciples that. So that's the way our brain is. If we don't memorize, then we'll see things float by. Oh yeah, I read that thing and then I forgot about it. So it's good food for the brain. So some of those things here. So that's the initial part. Understanding how mind is, and how we should train our mind. Some practical tips for that. How we don't want to be cheated by looking at other people, what they are doing in their lives. So that's an important aspect. So now this verses, I just want to bring these out because there is something important here that Prabhupada, the reason why Prabhupada brings these out, I just want to highlight that aspect to you. So these both are coming from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. We will be reading it later on. But what Prabhupada is highlighting here is that a devotee should always reside in the transcendental realm of Raj and always engage in Krishnam, Smaram, Jnanam, Chasya, Preshtham. So Preshtham means dear one. The remembrance of Sri Krishna and his beloved associates. By following in the footsteps of such associates and by entering under their eternal guidance, one can acquire an intense desire to serve the Supreme Personality of God. So that's one part. Then the next one Prabhupada is giving is, in the transcendental realm of Rajdham, one should serve the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, his footsteps. This method is applicable both in the stage of sadhana, spiritual practice executed while in the stage of bondage, and in the stage of sadhya, God with a feeling similar to that of his associates, and one should place himself under the direct guidance of a particular associate of Krishna and should follow in realization, when one is a Siddha Purusha or a spiritually perfect soul. So here also, we are again being told that under the direct guidance of a particular associate of Krishna. So Prabhupada, the reason Prabhupada is bringing these two verses here is to highlight that in the first verse also it said, Preshtham Nija Samihitam. Nija means own, Preshtham means his dear one. So Krishna's dear one are his beloved devotees. So we have to follow them. So the whole purpose of going to Vraj or going to any holy place for that matter is to associate with devotees. That's the only purpose of going to Vraj. Otherwise, there is no purpose of going to Vraj. We don't go there for a vacation, not for taking National Geographic pictures or something of that sort. So we don't do that. The whole purpose of going is to associate with devotees. That's the purpose of going to a dham, right? And let's take a pause here. I'll take a pause here. And one question that I want to put to all of you for your thought, the food of thought is, why is Prabhupada, how to put it? Why do you think we should associate with sages, especially in a dham? Why is Prabhupada stressing so much on that you go to a dham and you associate with Krishna's beloved? Why is Prabhupada, not just Prabhupada, Rupa Goswami is stressing also? So why are they stressing on this so much? What is the reason why this is being stressed? Why should we associate with sages in a dham? I'm going to a dham, isn't that good enough? So question for everybody, so please answer if you have a thought.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
To get that positive energy with the...
Yeah, you get that positive energy. Yes, good point. What else do we have?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
To follow, I guess, the spiritual masters' teachings and not to commit any offenses while in the holy dham.
So, are you saying that to get rid of our offenses? Is that what you said, Prabhu? I didn't understand.
Not to commit any offense while we're in the holy dham.
Okay, so we associate. Okay, so by associating with sages, we are protecting ourselves from offenses. Okay, that's a good point. Yes.
And Prabhuji, when you are with the devotees, you can get the motivation that how we can improve our sadhana and bhakti by watching them, by seeing them, by hearing them.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, I had a question.
Yeah,
Answer that, but I had a question. Why do we need to go to these devotional places to associate to a devotee? I can associate right now. I'm associating with devotee.
Yeah, that's a very good thing. Yes.
I don't have to go to Vatra, Vrindavan to associate with a devotee. I go to temple every Sunday, Saturday. I associate with devotees. I have bhakti which I associate with devotees. Spending so much of money going, and if I have to associate, then I'm doing all that here.
Yeah.
So
The mercy is much more when we go to a dham, because first of all in dham, just like there was one point that was brought out that we get positive energy from these sages when we go to dham. So just imagine in dham there are thousands of those devotees there. So just imagine the positive vibes that will be there. In a temple you can get 50, 100 devotees, but imagine if there are thousands of devotees. If you go to Mayapur is jam packed right now. It's like so many devotees come, and on Narsingh Chaturdashi there is no place to stand in a temple that can accommodate I don't know what, like 5 or 10,000 people at one go. So just imagine the positive vibes that come out. And also in a dham, the deities, like for example, if you go to Mayapur, so Mahaprabhu is very merciful in there. In a dham, the mercy of Krishna is much more multifold. It's many more folds. It increases many folds in dham. So whenever we go to dham, and also I'll talk more about it, but yeah, those are some initial points. And you're right. You're exactly right that a devotee has, you go meet devotees. They carry dham. Actually, let's look at a verse. Let me show you a verse. You got a good point. Let's pull up a verse.
And Prabhuji also said, right, create Vrindavan in your heart.
Yeah.
So when we say that, so then I understand that the energy is 1,000 times more. Having devotees there, and that aura is there, that ambience is there. But
well, more than the ambience, it's about the mercy.
okay.
That's multifold there. In Mayapur, when you go, and on one road, you walk on that one road, in front of the temple, There are so many mutt. There is the place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born. There's that neem tree. You can go and pay your obeisances there. In the temple, nobody's, you won't see the place where Mahaprabhu was born. There is a house where Mahaprabhu was born, Sachi Mata and what was his father's name? I forgot. So yes, so the house is there. You go to that. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, where he lived, from his balcony, he would see every morning Narsingh Dev coming and paying obeisances to Mahaprabhu. He used to come for Narsingh. He saw that there was this huge, cloud of wind that used to come every morning at Mangal Aarti to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthplace every morning. So just imagine all these great souls residing there. So just imagine the amount of energy there is in that one dham, in that one place. It's so concentrated. That's the purpose we go to a dham. And you can feel those vibes. That is why people love, they don't feel like coming back to once they go to a dham. Because the vibes are so powerful. It's like, first I was trying to swim across the river myself, but now suddenly there is this perfect boat has come for me, and I'm just happily, laying in the boat, and the boat is just taking me further. That's what happens when you go to a dham. Here I'm struggling so much. The Maya is so strong here. I'm just going wild trying to save myself from this Maya, and still I can't protect it. When you go to dham, it looks like that Mahaprabhu, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, they all are coming to take care of you. The feeling is completely different. But yes, as I said, and as you rightly pointed out, that we should create the dham in our heart also. So this one verse I just wanted to show everybody. So this is the first canto, 13th chapter, 10th verse. Yudhishthira Maharaj is talking to Vidur, and Vidur has come back. The war is over, everything is done. He didn't take part in the war. He just comes back. And what does Yudhishthira Maharaj say? And the purport is very powerful. We read that also. He's saying to Vidur, "My lord, devotees like your good self are verily holy places personified. Because you carry the personality of Godhead within your heart, you turn all places into places of pilgrimage." So let's read. Somebody wants to read the purport?
Sure, Prabhu.
Yes. Please.
You want to go ahead, Mataji? Go ahead.
Yeah, somebody would like to read it? No?
I can do it.
Yes, please go ahead,
Go ahead, Mataji.
No, go ahead, Mataji. Go ahead.
The personality of Godhead is omnipresent by his diverse potency elsewhere, just as the power of electricity is distributed everywhere within space. Similarly, the Lord omnipresence is perceived and manifested by his unalloyed devotees like Vidur, just as electricity is manifested in an electric bulb. A pure devotee like Vidur always feels the presence of the Lord everywhere. He sees everything in the potency of the Lord, and the Lord is everything. The holy places all over the earth are meant for purifying the polluted consciousness of the human being by an atmosphere surcharged with the presence of the Lord's unalloyed devotees. If anyone visits a holy place, he must search out the pure devotees residing in such holy places, take lessons from them, try to apply such instructions in practical life, and then gradually prepare oneself for the ultimate salvation, going back to Godhead. To go to some holy place of pilgrimage does not mean only to take a bath in the Ganges or Yamuna or to visit the temples situated in those places. One should also find representative of Vidura who have no desire in life save and expect to serve the personality of Godhead. The personality of Godhead is always with such pure devotees because of their unalloyed service, which is without any tinge of fruitive actions or utopian speculation. They are in the actual service of the Lord, specifically by the process of hearing and chanting. The pure devotees hear from the authorities and chant, sing and write of the glories of the Lord. Mahamuni Vyasdeva heard from Narada and then he chanted in writing. Sukdeva Goswami studied from his father and he described it to Parikshit. And this is the way of Srimad Bhagavatam. So by their actions, the pure devotees of the Lord can render any place into a place of pilgrimage, and the holy places are worth the name only on their account. Such pure devotees are able to rectify the polluted atmosphere of any place and to speak of a holy place rendered unholy by the questionable action of interested person who tried to adopt a professional life at the cost of the reputation of a holy name. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes. So what Prabhupada is telling us here, that pure devotees, when pure devotee goes to a dham, he's not going to purify himself. He's actually purifying the dham. That's what the pure devotee does, right? So where was that? The holy place, so Prabhupada is telling us, the holy place all over the world are meant for purifying the polluted consciousness of the human being by atmosphere charged with the presence of Lord and Lord devotees. Right, so Prabhupada again, he just restates what he's telling in Nectar of Instruction, that you should look for pure devotees there, right? The personality of Godhead is always with such pure devotees because of their unalloyed service. And then Prabhupada says that by their actions, the pure devotees of the Lord can render any place into a place of pilgrimage, and the holy places are worth the name only on their account. So that's the essence, right? That the pure devotee, the reason we look for pure devotees is because those pure devotees, when they live in the dham, they are purifying that dham, and that is what gives us that positive vibes that we are looking for. For example, if you go to Mayapur, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj lives there. Jayapataka Maharaj is himself alone, he is capable of purifying the entire creation. He's such a pure soul. If you listen to him, I have listened to him when he was, many years ago, not personally, but I saw a video of his, but he was speaking such pure Bengali. You can just imagine an American-bodied person learning so much, such a pure, perfect Bengali just to please his spiritual master. He gave up his citizenship of United States to be in India. So pure devotees like His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, they have purified Mayapur for us. That is why when we go there, we get those positive vibes. We get the mercy of Mahaprabhu through those pure devotees. But if I go there with my contaminated heart as it is, so dirty and polluted, I will not get any benefit. So whenever we go to a dham, associate with those pure devotees who have purified the dham for us. And then go and beg to Mahaprabhu for his mercy. Go down on your knees and just say, Mahaprabhu, I'm yours, please protect me. Please give me some energy so that I can serve. I can serve you, I can serve Prabhupada, I can serve my spiritual master. So that's the whole purpose here of the concept of dham that's being explained. So I just wanted to bring out this verse. It's 113.10 if somebody is keeping track, from Srimad Bhagavatam. And there are many such words also in Srimad Bhagavatam that talk with a similar aspect. So wait a minute. Okay, so that's the concept of what does it mean to reside in Vraj. Okay, what's next do we have in here? Okay, so then Prabhupada explains different stages of hearing. Okay, that's the thing there. Before I go, Madhuri, was my answer satisfactory to your question that why do we have to go to a dham?
Yes, Prabhuji, totally.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so coming to this aspect that, so now we just talked about it, training the mind. Why to train? We talked about impressions. These impressions can take us into different species even. We could have a species difference. So we basically live as a human being and we born as a dog. So that's a big danger for us. We don't want to go there. That's the reason. The role at the time of death. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajanti ante kalevram. That is why I need to train my mind. That's very, very important for us. And that is why we do all this, whatever, reading, chanting, hearing. Prabhupada used to say that you can start as early as you can, that the earlier the better. Plag Maharaj started at 5 years of age. So Dhruv Maharaj went to jungle at a much early age. So earlier we start, the better. But wherever we start is good. But if we can, that is why we try to bring our kids into Bhakti and try to push them earlier on in their life so that they don't have to go through all what we have been through, at least what I have been through, and if others. So so those are so we talked about it, right? So why to train and how to train. And then comes one aspect of how to train is remembering Krishna. And then Prabhupada, beautifully, he talks about different stages of remembrance. So we talked about smarana. So remembrance So two things, right? Somebody can ask you and say that, oh, you know, Krishna is saying, you just remember whatever you remember the last time of your death, of leaving this body, you'll get that. So I'll put a gun on my forehead and I'll say Krishna, Krishna, and I'll shoot myself. So will I go back home, back to Godhead? What do you all think? Will that person go back home, back to Godhead? He's remembering Krishna at the last moment.
No, Prabhuji.
Why not? He's remembering Krishna at the last moment. What happened there? What went wrong?
Because he gave up the precious life given by Lord Krishna and just took his life, which is not correct. We are part and parcel of Lord Krishna, right? And we have no right to take our own life. This life is given to serve Lord Krishna. And when the time comes, well, anyways, Krishna has a path for us. And whenever the time will come, we'll go. But we don't have to become God ourselves and take our life. That's not how it goes.
Yeah. But then wouldn't that nullify Krishna's statement that yam yam vapi smarana bhavam tyajanti ante kalevaram tam tam evati kante? Doesn't that then refute the Krishna's other statement? I get your point. You're right there. But wouldn't it refute?
That is a hut, right, Prabhuji? That's like you are trying to prove. That's a hut, right? This has to come with it's a devotional bhav, right? It's a devotional service that has to come with pure love. It's not like I just hut say it cannot be getting Krishna by hut, right? I'm admitting, okay, I'll say Krishna name and I'll die and I'll get Krishna. No, it will not work that way. It's not.
That's what Krishna is saying. He's talking about yam yam vapi smarana bhavam. Smarana means remembrance. Whereas the example that I was trying to give or what I was giving was about utterance. There's a big difference between utterance and remembrance. You know, I say so many things, but I don't necessarily believe in them because I have this want to project a different image of myself. So remembrance is important. Right? So if remembrance comes by practice, you know, utterance can come by force anytime we can do, but then that doesn't help us. So yes, that's a good point there. So Prabhupada then explains the different different types of remembrance: Shravan dasha, Varan dasha, Smaranavastha, Sampati dasha. And then he talks of 5 stages of Krishna Smaran. He talks about that in the purport, right? So there's one thing, I think I missed one thing. Okay. So one thing Prabhupada says here I wanted to highlight was that it says it's applicable both in the stage of sadhana and sadhya, right? So spiritual practice executed while in the state of bondage, as I am right now, and then in a liberated state. So it's for beginners also and for liberated souls also. So that method that we have been given, that residing in Braja, creating Braja in your heart, that's applicable to both the people, right? So right now, so if you see, right, so we have been coming through this path on nectar of instruction. We started with Shraddha, talked about Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, and then so Bhajan Kriya, and then comes Anartha Nivritti, and then Ruchi, Nishtha, Ruchi, Sakti. So I am right now in a very low stage. I'm in Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha somewhere, Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya. I'm still following there. So if I look at it from that perspective, this verse might be a bit high for me. It might not be applicable to because I'm not there yet. But we are being given the full curriculum. And the reason we are being given this full curriculum is because Prabhupada and even Rupa Goswami, he wants to tell us, okay, these are the stages and this is how they look, so that I don't try to artificially jump into them. If I know what is the higher levels, then I don't try to artificially jump into them. Right? If I'm not ready for it, and if I try to artificially jump into it, then I will fall down. And Prabhupada used to say that the reason there are so many monkeys in Vrindavan is because those are those people who try to jump to a higher level without having the proper qualification. And then when they jumped to that higher level, they couldn't handle it, and then they fell down. They fell prey to either attraction towards the opposite sex, towards money, drinking, alcohol, whatever it may be. But they fell down, and then they come as monkeys and animals in Vrindavan. That's what they get. So that's what Prabhupada says. So that's the reason why we are being given all the stages, so that we know what they look like, so that we don't artificially project them into our lives, right? So that's the purpose why we are being given here what Prabhupada is saying there. Okay, so now let's look at these different stages of remembrance. First is Shravan Dasha. Okay, so now it says Krishna Katha, right? So when you say Prabhupada is saying, it says in the purport that in the beginning stages of our lives we should engage in, or not just beginning, throughout actually, in hearing Krishna Katha. So Krishna Katha can be about Krishna, or it can be by Krishna. So Bhagavad Gita is by Krishna, and then Bhagavatam is about Krishna. So it includes everything. So anything about Krishna or by Krishna is Krishna Katha, right? So this stage is called Shravan Dasha. So in hearing intensely, rapt attention. I really appreciate that you all come here after a hard day's work. It's the middle of the week, and you spend 1.5 hours listening to me. So this is the benefit that comes out of the regulated life that you all have been practicing. So this is Shravan Dasha, hearing, and we keep on bringing ourselves back. Right? Prabhupada explains that how distraction comes, I get distracted. My mind just takes me somewhere else. I bring it back. So that's called hearing with attention. Flying aeroplanes, pilots 95% of the time, all they're doing is they're bringing the aircraft back on the path. That's all they're doing. So that's what hearing intensely is, with attention. That we know when I'm getting distracted, then I pull myself back. So that's Shravan Dasha. Right? So after Shravan Dasha comes Varana Dasha. So Varana means acceptance. So we all are products of hearing. Whatever we put into the bay of my, whatever I put into my ear, it goes into my heart, right? And in my heart, it gets accumulated, and then we get the byproduct of it. If I've been hearing, probably let's say you have some friends who are very demeaning to some people, some class of people, some class in society of people, and then that comes to you, and you start thinking about it, and it becomes a part of us. So we all are products of our hearing. So by prolonged hearing of Krishna Katha, then we come to a stage of acceptance. Right? Modern day, all the advertisements we see, right, they're like this. They are trying to push us into a Varana Dasha, a very negative aspect of Varana Dasha, but I just wanted to give you that as an example to understand what does Varana Dasha mean. They keep bombarding the same thing again and again to us. I go out, there's a billboard. I put on my TV, there's an ad. I put on YouTube, there's an ad there for the same thing. I go on Facebook, Facebook has an ad of the same thing. So they keep bombarding us with the same thing again and again. And just one day, when my guards are down, I fall trap to it. Every day they are telling me, Premnav, your watch is not good enough. You should go buy an iWatch. I don't know what do you call that. Premnav, your phone is not good enough. Premnav, you yourself are not good enough. You should start going to a gym. What not going to gym is a good thing. That was probably not the right example, but what they're always telling us is that I'm not good enough. My clothes are not good enough. These things are not. I should look at the next level of thing, and that's what Apple is. Being a $1 trillion company, they have come to that position just by telling people that this year you bought an iPhone, next year I will change the shape, and then you can buy another iPhone. So we fall trap to it. Not all of you, not you people. You are the elevated souls here, but then that's what the common people have to go through. They fall trap to it. So that's Varana Dasha. We have accepted what is being bombarded to me. Right? So here, similar to what advertisements do to us, similar thing is happening in Bhakti. We go on hearing about Krishna, but there is a significant difference, right? In comparison to all the ads I just talked about, there is a difference there. So in Krishna Katha, there are 3 qualities, right? It's Vastav Vastu. It's not illusory. Okay, it's not illusory. It's an actual fact. It actually takes me out of illusion. Second thing is, by cultivating bhakti, by hearing, there is purification of our consciousness. Whereas when I go to materialistic things, there is putrefaction of my consciousness. It's contamination. It just goes stale. My consciousness goes stale. That's what somebody was I was listening to a class many years ago, and somebody asked this question to the speaker that, how do I know that this book, Bhagavad Gita, is valuable, is what you were saying it is? And the speaker gave a very good answer, is that the taste of the pudding is in eating it. You read the book and you will see a change in yourself. So when we read these scriptures, we see a purification in our heart. But we don't see that when we fall trapped to the ads of material world. So that's the second thing. So first is that it's not illusory. Second is it's purifying to us. It's not purifying our consciousness. And the third important thing is there are no side effects to it. It's cost free. There are no side effects to what we are doing in Bhakti. Hearing the Varna, Dasha that we attain in Bhakti, in Krishna Katha, is free of side effects. Okay. So that's the important thing. You know, Prabhupada, there was a court case that Prabhupada had to face. Prabhupada didn't have to go personally, but there was a court case where we were being told that ISKCON is brainwashing people, right? And Prabhupada gave very good logical arguments to those people. You know, Prabhupada said that, yes, your brain is filled with dirty stuff. I'm washing it for you. What is wrong in that? See these hippies, I brought them, they have given up everything. Illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, they've given up everything. They have come to Varnadasha. Prabhupada was giving this. Obviously, his disciples said, Prabhupada, we cannot say this in the court. They won't listen to it. So, but then Prabhupada was doing exactly this, trying to bring all of us to Varnadasha. Not trying to, he was bringing us to all of Varnadasha. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he was initiating Prabhupada, he was very happy with Prabhupada. He said, yes, I will initiate this boy. This boy doesn't go away. When Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came to Vrindavan on Yatra, Prabhupada got a chance to go and see him. And Prabhupada went and then he met him, and there was this, and then one evening when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was giving a class, there was this opportunity to go and go to a temple. And the temple was about to be closed or something, and that was the only time that devotees could go. And many of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disciples, they went away. And Prabhupada didn't go there. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur himself said that, if you don't listen, what are you going to see in the deity? You won't have anything to see. And that's why Prabhupada just sat there. And Prabhupada used to say, I didn't understand everything my Guru Maharaj was saying, but then I never left. It was my hobby to listen to my spiritual master. So that's what Prabhupada himself practiced, and that's what himself he pointed out to us. So that's the Smaran Dasha, and then we did Varan Dasha. So those are the two aspects. Right. So then comes Smaran Avastha. Right. So there was this devotee once I knew. He was in the Bombay temple, and he was a young guy, just like early teens, early 20s, and he left home and he came, and his parents were really angry. He came to the temple. They came to the temple. They wanted to take him back, but they couldn't take him back. So what happened is his father was so angry with ISKCON that he would come to ISKCON. He would sit down for classes, and he would try to find out points that how ISKCON is brainwashing people. Can you just imagine somebody has so much envy in their heart that he wants to come to the temple, listen to Bhagavatam class only for the purpose that he could find flaws by which they could, collect data to show that, okay, see how ISKCON brainwashes people. And you know what happened to that person, to the devotee's father? The devotee's father became a devotee just by coming with an envious heart to listen to Bhagavatam classes. That's the power of learning, right? So Smarana, so that's coming to that aspect. So right, so we have hearing, acceptance, and Smarana Avastha. So what now his father was doing, not a perfect example, but what his father was doing was Smarana Avastha. He was remembering those points. He was remembering what the speaker was saying. He might have been paying more attention than actual devotees sitting in that class, right? So that was Smarana Avastha for that person. That I want to take my son back home. These guys have brainwashed him, and I'm going to listen very closely to these kathas and find out points. So that's the way Krishna works. And what's more, the boy's father, so the boy's bua, so that father's sister, had another boy. This father's sister had a son, So what they did was they put that son to spy on this guy who had left home, right? So they put as a spy. That boy also became a devotee. And now the father's sister was angry that, oh, your son left you and went to ISKCON. Now you took away my son also. So that's what happened with Smarana Avastha. When you become so focused in remembering Krishna, when we chant in ecstasy, we attain that stage of Smarana Avastha, the stage of remembering. And there are 5 stages of this. Prabhupada talks about in the purport. There are the 5 that are in there. It's recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance. Prabhupada gives those English. He doesn't give the Sanskrit words for them. So those are the 5 things that are part of Smarana Avastha, the stage of remembrance, right? So
Can you repeat again? Recollection, observation, meditation.
Just give me 1 second. I'll pull up the purport itself. I'll show you the purport in there. It's in the purport. This is there, right? Okay. So purport. So here they are the 5 things that Prabhupada has listed here. And it's the part of Smarana Avastha that we were just talking. Recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance. They are the 5 items of progressive Krishna Smarana. Okay, so these are the 5 of them. Let me go back to the slide just one second. Yeah, so that's Smarana Avastha. And those,
that was Bhagavad Gita 7.17.
no, that's the verse that we are reading, Nectar of Instruction, verse 8.
Okay, in that it was. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I pointed out.
Okay.
So those are the 5 given in there. Oops.
Okay.
And so that's the 5 stages. Let's quickly look at those 5 stages, what they are. I think I might have a slide. Is there? Oh yeah, this is. And I wanted to show you this. Some of you might have seen this already. I have seen this in the past, but I didn't know it was called Hermann forgetting curve. What this person, he was a scientist from Germany in the late 1800s. What he studied people, and he found out this conclusion. He said that when you listen to something, within the first 20 minutes, you forget 40% of it. Okay. By day 1, you have forgotten nearly 70% of it. By day 2, another 10% of it. Within a month, it comes back low, but then as you go further, you're completely lost. So the reason why Prabhupada is stressing, and by not just Prabhupada, Rupa Goswami, Bhakti process is so practical, so scientific. They know exactly what is to be done, how it's to be done. The reason they are asking us for recollection and all those 5 steps, we'll go through that, but I just want to show you this before. Look at this one, overcoming the curve, this graph on the right hand side. See, immediately after class, if I like kind of just go over what I have heard immediately after the class, then I can remember up to 80%, approximately up to a day. I revise it after a day again, then I can remember that 80%, approximately 75-80% up to a week. Similarly, if I again revise it after a week, I can maintain that for close to a month. And then furthermore, if I revise after a month, I can get. After I revise it for a month, it becomes pakka in my mind. Pakka, it becomes solid in my mind. I don't forget it. That is why Prabhupada stresses a lot on revising. That's why we all should, whatever we hear, every day if you're hearing whatever you're hearing, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour long, try to meditate on it. That's an important aspect. Let me go back to this. So try to meditate on that. That's the thing. When we meditate on it, we are forcing our mind to just go over it again. It helps me remember also, and it helps purify my heart. So recollection, the first point I mentioned, recollection is after we have heard or read, we should be able to reproduce some salient points out of that, some critical points there. That means a recollection. Okay. I just showed you 4-time repetition, and some people say 5-time repetition. That's the key to permanent memorization. If you're trying to memorize a verse, memorize it today, 1 day later, 1 week later, 1 month later, it will never go out of your heart and mind. Spaced interval repetitions, right? Then it becomes permanent in my heart and mind. So that's repetition. That's recollection. And then the reason Vedas were spoken out aloud was for this purpose. That when we speak something out aloud, somebody tells us that the spiritual master guru would recite the verse, and then his disciples would recite it again loudly, because that's what it does. It helps us memorize. That's how people. And then at the olden days, people were much more intelligent. Their memories were much sharper, less distraction, obviously. So that's recollection. Then absorption means it becomes part of the system, right? I have this big problem that I forget names. Many times there's somebody whom I met and then I don't meet them for a month and I start listening. What was this guy's name? I start thinking that. The reason because absorption has not happened for me. It's just information, right? There's a set of information, but then when I absorb that information, it becomes knowledge. So it has not, the transformation hasn't happened from information to knowledge. That is why I don't remember names. I forgot people's names, and if I forget things that I had done or something like that. So the absorption hasn't happened. So absorption means it becomes a part of my system, right? It's ingrained in me. That's what happens in absorption. That's the purpose of the meaning of absorption, right? So then constant remembrance, right? So if you read it, Patanjali Yoga Sutra also talks about all this smarana, dharana, then dhyana. So all these things. So these thinking leads, all that leads to meditation. So the recollection and absorption that leads to meditation, right? And then comes constant remembrance, anusmriti, right? So there is no forgetfulness at all. We talked about those 5 spaced intervals. Then there is no forgetfulness of Krishna's name. Earlier, so right now I'm in a position I can hardly remember Krishna's name. Yeah, I chant in the morning, a little bit here and there, a minute or two I can remember out of those 2 hours. But then in the whole day, sometimes when I read something, but then generally it's very short spurts of remembrance. But then when it becomes a constant remembrance, there are no short spurts. All those short spurts become connected, right? And then we don't forget Krishna's Nama Rupa Charitadi. So that's the stage of constant remembrance. And then comes trance. Trance is samadhi, complete absorption. Then nothing is distracting us. Mind is more like a toothless serpent. Senses are like toothless serpent. They cannot do anything. After that samadhi, we come to the state of sampatti dasha. Right? Prabhupada is talking about the last thing is sampatti dasha. So once we have gone through all those 5 stages, recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance. When we have gone through that, then we come to Sampatti Dasha. That's Sampatti Dasha. And it's called Sampatti Dasha because now I have wealth. I have that spiritual wealth for which I have put in all those efforts, year after year, day after day, waking up. No, I have to wake up. I have to do my chanting. I have to read. I have to hear. I keep pushing myself. And then the day comes when I have that wealth in my heart and I become Sampatti Dasha situated. So steps are Shravana Dasha, Varana Dasha, and then Smarana Avastha, then Smarana Avastha has those 5 parts, is leading to Sampatti Dasha eventually. Samadhi, Anusmriti Samadhi, and that leads to Sampatti Dasha. So which stage are we in? I'm sorry, I should say which stage I am in. I am in Shravana Dasha right now. That's the thing, right? My thought process is interrupted. I cannot recollect what I have read, and I have no absorption. So that's my stage, Shravana Dasha. Unmeditated hearing, time pass hearing. So Prabhupada is giving us clearly, Rupa Goswami is giving us very clearly that whenever we hear, we recollect. We try, we hear something, either repeat it to yourself or to somebody who can just listen to you, right? So as I said, Bhakti Yoga is a science. What exactly is to be meditated upon is given here. How it's supposed to be done is given here. Krishna Nam Rup Charitadi, by the 5 stages of remembrance, you go from Shravana, Varana, and then Smarana Avastha, and then Sampatti Dasha. That's the way we do it. So that's the part of the 5 stages. Okay, let's just go through this also. Before I move forward, I want to take a break here. Let me know if there's anything else that you want to talk about, you want to comment on. If there are any questions about, any criticism.
Prabhuji, I just wanted to share. I was listening to one of the lectures from one of the Prabhujis, and he was saying like, once you are done with your japa, right, whatever number of japas you do, then you think that you are done for the day, and then you get busy in your daily chores, right, office or whatever you are doing, and then you tend to get so busy you forget to even remember Krishna. You are so busy, and that's the time he used to recommend that you set up an alarm, half an hour alarm, repetitive half an hour alarm. When the alarm rings, just say one round, or not even one round, just say Hare Krishna, and then again start. If you're so busy, like in between your meeting or something, it buzzes, just say, and then again do your chores, again half an hour alarm. So this is the way you set your mind to remember Krishna. It's not like whatever task you had set up in your habit, and you do it and then you forget Krishna. Now I'm done for my day. It should not be that way.
Thank you for sharing that. Wow, what a brilliant point. Yes. Set up an alarm, and then whenever the alarm rings, we know. Yeah. It reminded me of that experiment, right? It was the Pavlov's dog. He used to ring a bell and the dog would come to eat. We should make our mind like that. Whenever the bell rings, we know, okay, it's something for my mind to do. Something for my mind to remember Krishna. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Krishna Prabhu.
Hi, Krishna.
I have a question in reference to training the mind. So, in Srila Prabhupada's purport, he mentioned that we should try to reside in Vrindavan. Most of us are probably not going to be able to do that. So, what is the best way, I guess? We try to go to Yatra every year and at least go to Vrindavan so we can get the association of the devotees like you mentioned earlier, and also visit all the holy places. But what should we do, I guess, if we're not able to reside in Vrindavan?
Yes, so we briefly talked about it in the beginning that we create a Vrindavan in the environment where we are living. We will, and the reason Prabhupada is bringing this out here, the residing in Vrindavan, the next 3 verses talk very specifically about Radhakund. They talk about living in Radhakund, and Prabhupada will give very clear picture there also. Prabhupada has created so many temples for us. We have the teachings of Rupa Goswami, Prabhupada, Bhakti, everybody there. Right? There are so many Maharaj that visit the temple. They all have the Dham in their hearts. So we take association of those visiting devotees. And frankly, there's it's meaningless to go to Dham if my heart is not purified. Prabhupada would say that either go to Dham for 3 days or go for 3 years. What he meant was, you go for 3 days only if you are not, if we don't have any service there. Because in Dham, we make a small offense that gets increased multifold. Just as when we do a service, that also gets multifold, but then it becomes, the offense also becomes multifold, it affects us multifold. So, but then if we have service, we can stay longer there. So we have to understand that it's the Dham, residing in Dham is about creating a Dham in our heart, in our surrounding environment, in our family, in our friend circle, in our office, wherever you can. I know many devotees who when they go to work, they interact with the people, their office colleagues. They really treat them very nicely. They give them prasadam throughout the year. They take them some cookies or some cake sometimes, and they just so happily just interacting with all of them. And what happens when the end of the year, Gita Jayanti comes in, they go and talk about Bhagavad Gita to them. And then they ask for donations, they ask for sponsorships, and people openly, happily give that. So now that person has created Vrindavan in his office also, because all he or she is thinking about is Krishna there. So yes, we all cannot live in a Dham. We should be very cautious when we are living in a Dham. Not that we should not go to a Dham. Whenever we get a chance, we go to Yatra, as you're saying, Prabhu. It's good. But then, Shalini Mataji was rightly pointing out that Dham has been created in our heart. That's the more important Dham that we have to create and be in. Was that helpful, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
Yes, that's what we are supposed to do. We don't artificially jump into that. I gave the example of how people who artificially try to come into that dham bhav, and when they fall down, they come back as monkeys. So I don't want to come back as a monkey in my next life. So I'll stay away. I'll do my service. I'll serve my spiritual master to the best of my capacity. My spiritual master goes to dham. I'll go with him. I'll serve him there. I'll serve the dham. I'll take whatever benefit I can, but I won't overdo it because I'm not pure. I have so many contamination in my heart. So, yeah. Okay. Anything else before we jump onto this final slide? No? Okay.
So Prabhuji, for hearing also we need to, like, once we hear a particular lecture, right? A few, even the moment you hear and you are done with that, for some time you remember a few keynotes, right? But so you are saying hearing also you should keep hearing the same thing so that you meditate and you just remember it completely, because some lectures are very good of Prabhupada. You hear that, but 90% you forget. And then 10% only remains in your mind. So till the time you don't keep repeating the hearing of the lecture, but there is so much to hear. You cannot go back to the same lecture and keep hearing so that you can meditate on it, and then it's completely, printed in your mind.
Yes.
So how do we?
One thing, what I have from my personal experience that has helped me is writing down those salient points as you are hearing the lecture.
Okay.
Make a notebook, whatever lecture you are hearing, and make it try to. I like to keep it very neat and clean, but that helps me also, because then I realize, oh, this is so neat and clean, and because I'm doing something good in it, it alerts my mind. But write down the points and don't try to. So as I was saying, right, we don't want to jump to that level of expert hearing from where I am, which is useless hearing, right away. Time will come, we will reach there. But whatever I can remember is very good. If you say, let's say in the morning I heard for 15 minutes, I found 4 good points, I wrote them down, and I looked at them. I keep my notebook open in front of where I work, so that I can just look at it. Okay, my eyes fall on it, I see those points, and okay. So make that also in one of your habits, that okay, I will meditate on 1 or 2 points that I have heard in a lecture. So start with that, a small effort. Don't try to remember the whole lecture. It's not possible for us in this moment. So that helps me. And whenever I hear a lecture, and because I have set it in my goal for the day that I have to meditate on it, I just pick out 1 point, and I just think about it. Whenever I get time. For example, today I heard Prabhupada. He said, "Brahman is one." He said that. What was that? Actually, I forgot what he said. That he was telling about the quality of a Brahman. That the Brahman is one who. Oh, I actually forgot that. Okay. Well, the other thing that I remembered, the other lecture that I heard in that, what I remembered was that how in a spiritual master. Then I was listening to another acharya, and he was saying that how a spiritual master he's come to open our eyes. But then what the spiritual master sometimes sees, that in the assembly there are blind people sitting, and he's come to sell mirrors there. So I found that very funny, and I just kept thinking about that. That's clear. That's like very much like me, that I'm blind, and then there's my spiritual master sitting right there and trying to teach me something. But so that was another thing I made. So just 1 point that you can in your lecture and keep it. So, and then you can make.
Yeah, very good point, Prabhuji, by keeping that notebook in front of you. Yeah. And just flipping the pages. That's very good point. Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, so coming to this last thing, we have around 15 minutes or so. Let's wrap this up. So Prabhupada now gives us the 3 different types of devotional service. Okay. So Prabhupada actually talks about 2 of them, Vidhi Bhakti, and he doesn't call it Vidhi Bhakti, but he talks about it. It's when we're just doing following the rules regulations. Vidhi means rules and regulations, right? So Vidhi Bhakti is that, and so So when we just follow, so all of, I'm in Vidhi Bhakti. I'm just following the rule regulations given to our spiritual master, right? So that's the first thing that Prabhupada is giving us, right? And then I think we can open up the purport there from the purport. Prabhupada is read those out for us. Just give me 1 second. I'll open that up. You can look at the purport. So that's nectar of instruction, verse 8. Where is that? Okay, so the 3. So Prabhupada says, neophytes are those who are engaged in regulative devotional service according to the directions of the scripture. So that's the Vidhi Bhakti. Right? We just do exactly what we've been told by our spiritual masters, by Prabhupada. 4 regulative principles: chanting, hearing, temple, paying obeisances to deities, singing, kirtan, all that. We just follow that strictly. So that's the Vidhi Bhakti that's supposed to be followed. What does that Vidhi Bhakti do? Is that we start developing attachment for Krishna, his name, his pastimes. And then what happens is, when one has developed such attachment, Prabhupada is telling us that he can spontaneously serve the lotus feet of Krishna, even without following the regulative principles. So that's called, that's Raganuga Bhakti. So that's spontaneous. The word spontaneous is very important here. It's happening without me putting an effort. My mind is so much attached to Krishna now, his name, his qualities, his form, that it's not worried about anything else in this world. So it becomes spontaneous. There's spontaneity there. So that's Raganuga Bhakti. Now, the one thing that I wanted to bring out, just for the sake of, to give the complete idea here. Oh, sorry, I'm not sharing the screen. So these 2 he talks about, but then one more I wanted to just bring out for the sake of complete essence of the concept. The 3rd is the Ragatmika Bhakti. So Ragatmika Bhakti is they are eternally in Krishna's service. People who are eternally in Krishna's service are following Ragatmika Bhakti. They never forget Krishna. They never fall down. Yashoda Maiya, Radharani. We have Krishna's friends, Sudama. We have Lord Balram there. So those are Ragatmika devotees. They never fall down. So Raganuga people are those who are following in the footsteps of Ragatmika devotees. For example, I can be inspired by, let's say, oh, I really like how Krishna plays with his friends. So there is some friend of it, let's say Sudama. So I get inspired. Oh, I really like the mood of Sudama. So I can follow them. So that's following in the footsteps of Ragatmika devotees. So we should be inspired with them. We shouldn't try to be them. I should not try to become, let's say, Nanda Maharaj or, Subhadrudama. No, that's not the appropriate mood. The mood is, we should be inspired to follow them, inspired by them, right? After having put in years and years of our effort, day after day, hearing classes, me not falling asleep in classes, by doing my chanting properly, after years and years of that, we can think of following Raganuga Bhakti. Right now I am in the Vidhi Bhakti, and I just keep doing that for some time, long time actually. Right? Prabhupada, he was a Raganuga Bhakti. He was doing Raganuga devotion. Right? So, and then I put these verses there. If you're more interested to get more details, Mahaprabhu talks about this to Sanatana Goswami in the Madhya Leela, Chaitanya Charitamrita, verse chapter number 22. And there are verses, there's a full chapter there. He's explaining these to him. There's some details there in there. I think he gives a lot of details about Vidhi Bhakti, because majority of the people are in Vidhi Bhakti. He talks about Raganuga. He doesn't talk a lot about Ragatmika Bhakti, because that's a completely different level. So, but then yeah, these 2 aspects he talks about there. So these are the 3 types of bhakti. Then we are told of the 5 ways in which we can do that Raganuga Bhakti. So the concept is that as we advance in bhakti, we become aware of whom to take guidance from, how to cultivate a specific kind of bhakti. It's naturally endowed to devotees. As devotees, the higher forms of bhakti and bhajan, they descend upon us. I cannot grab and pluck them. That's not something I can do. It's out of my adhikar. Okay. The reason Prabhupada always used to tell his disciples to be very careful how they interact with Vrindavan Vasis and Mayapur Vasis was because he didn't want his disciples to leave ISKCON and then go out looking for some other Baba in Vrindavan. Prabhupada would say, this is a sure short way to hell. Without purifying our heart, without doing service, we cannot jump over the sattvic lifestyle that Prabhupada has told us to live, right? And go to Raganuga. Oh, I'll become Raganuga. I don't want to chant. I chant all the time in my heart. I've heard so many people say that, and I wish I could tell them. But then, that's not what we want to do. We just want to follow as we have been told by Prabhupada. Everything will be perfect for us, right? And as I said, so many people are monkeys, so many monkeys in Vrindavan because they came to Vrindavan prematurely. They just said, oh, I'm Raganuga, I am a devotee, I'm of Radharani, I'm in a mood of Radharani's servant. All this is nonsense, I won't chant. No, we don't want to do. We wait, we beg, and we pray for right type of association, right type of guidance, and then it comes to us, it descends upon us. And it will come to you, it will come to me in ways that we will not be able to even tell anybody. It will be so ecstatic and such unbelievable the ways it will be happening to me that I won't be able to tell others about it. And I'll keep it to myself, I will nourish my bhakti, but then it surely comes. It surely comes. Bhakti is not all philosophy. It's actual realizations, it's actual feeling there. Okay? And in the Raganuga, there are these 5 types of ways which we can do Raganuga. You all I'm sure know about these. Starting all the way from the top is Madhurya, Vatsalya, and we have Sakhya, Tasya, Shanta. These are the 5 rasas. And sometimes these rasas can get mixed up also. There are, I think Prabhupada gives the name of 3 of Krishna's friends in the purport, right? So some friends were in Dasya Ras for Krishna, they are always serving Krishna. Then there are some who are equal, they are equal, they can fight with him, sit on his shoulder. So there are some friends are on equal level, but then there are some friends who have Vatsalya mixed in it. Balram is that way. That Balram has a protective nature towards Krishna. He is protecting Krishna. So Sakhya is there, he's a friend also, but then he also has Vatsalya in there. So Prabhupada says that we become like them, but we don't want to become them. That's what Prabhupada's sense is. Right? And then in the end, Prabhupada quotes in the is that? I'll just look at that, what he's saying. So this is the last statement of the purport is, this is the essence of all instructions in the matter of devotional service. This is the last statement of the purport Prabhupada gives. Right? So when we do something, right? So even before doing something, we know something. So when we know something, we should do something about it. And then we should become something out of that. Knowing itself is not good enough. Okay? Doing something about it is better. But then implementing it, realizing it, then then we become something out of it. Right? So I was talking to Sankirtan Prabhu this morning. He said, what was it? Liberate, elevate, saturate. He told me 3 things. That struck my mind. That's good. I remembered what I heard in the morning from a devotee. So yes. So what we know, we should do something about it, and then we should become something out of that. We know many times we don't do anything about it. Many times we do, but don't have a clear picture of what we want to become. That's why these books are so important. That's why Prabhupada is saying that this is the most complete instruction. The essence of all instruction is here. All we need to do is just tap into it. That's what the essence is. So I think I'll take a pause here. We have a couple of minutes if anybody has any other thoughts.
So Prabhuji, this Vidhi Bhakti is Niyamagraha, similar to Niyamagraha, where we follow the rules and regulations just for the sake of it without any spiritual advancement? Or no, it's different.
So that is, yes, you're right. You gave the right definition of Niyamagra. But when we do Vidhi Bhakti, we're not doing Niyamagra. We know the purpose behind it. It's for my purification.
Okay, so we have that understanding. Okay.
Yes, we should have that understanding, right? Every morning when I do Aarti and I sing, right, Sansar Davanal Nalli the Loka. If I know the meaning of that poem, of that song that I'm singing, it's always in my mind. Oh, I'm saying that this world is a place full of misery, burning. So I know that. So I'm thinking about it. I'm not pure. I'm so contaminated, but I'm thinking about it. So I'm doing Vidhi Bhakti. Yes. Anybody else? Any other thoughts?
So we are following the rules as regulation, but also going into the spiritual advancement also, right? Because we are understanding what we are doing. So it's definitely not a Niyamagra.
No, it's not. It's not at all.
Yes.
We should know the purpose, and even if we don't know, we should try our best to. Understand it. That's why knowing the prayers that we are singing, knowing at least the basic meaning of that is very good. Otherwise we're just blindly singing, and then I'm looking here and there and singing because I've just memorized that. It's okay to do that, but it's not that. It doesn't help much. If I know the meaning of those, it's good. That when I sing, I try to remember the meaning at least physically. I'm making an effort to do that. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Anything else? Anyone? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I was just thinking. So we generally have three things in us whenever we're doing bhakti, right? We have the sincerity that we have. Then my heart is fully contaminated, and I have passion. So these three things, I can focus on the sincerity and passion and don't worry much about the contamination, and everything will be fine, right? If I put the sincerity and my passion in the right path, the contamination will go away eventually. Prabhupada gives the example, right? In a glass, if there is some dirt, let's say, so what I do is I will just put it under the tap and put the tap on, and the dirt will automatically go away by that overflow of water. So not worrying much about the contaminations, but trying to put in that sincerity and bring in that passion in our lives. Our bhakti will be perfect. Okay, 8:30 sharp, and I stop here.